Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Career Foundry event. I'm just going to introduce myself first. I am Laura, Head of Social at Career Foundry, and today we have a wonderful presentation by Susan Clark on how to know if it's time for a career change. We'd love to hear where everyone is joining from to begin. So if you just type on the public chat on the right-hand side, tell us where you're joining from, and we'd love to see that. Before we start, just a little bit about Career Foundry. We are an online school and we teach UI design, UX design, web development, data analytics, and digital marketing, and we help everyone get a job in tech. On our programs, we have a dual mentorship model with a mentor and a tutor, but we also have career specialists such as Susan, and everybody here to support you and help you get that job in tech. Now, to introduce our speaker today, Susan is a senior career specialist here at Career Foundry. She works with many of the students that we currently have, and we're so happy to have her with us today. I'll now give Susan the floor. Enjoy the webinar, everybody, and I will now disappear into the background. Susan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. I see we really have people from all over the world joining us, so I just want to say welcome. I know that tons of people have asked this question before, which is why I actually decided to title this webinar, Is It Time for a Career Change? Because there's sometimes where you're in a job or you're really doing something and you're just wondering, is this right for me? Is there something that's better suited for me? Or is there something that I could make me happier, or whatever reasons you may have? So I thought this would be a great topic to cover because it's something that many of us have asked at least at some point in our lives. So the purpose is to try to help you decide, in fact, if you should change your career or not. So as Laura introduced, I'm Susan, and as I mentioned, I've even asked myself this many times. And not only have I asked myself if it's time for a career change, I have changed my career several times. I started out my professional career as a journalist. I went from journalism into marketing. From marketing, I went to a consultant within higher education, and I've moved into career coaching and career support, career mentorship. And I really feel like it's not always, your path is not always linear, and you sometimes do need to do several different jobs to help you find actually this job that you feel really suited for and meant for. And I really feel like career coaching aligns exactly with that for me. But otherwise, without testing those things, I don't know if I would have come to that conclusion. So don't feel like you're getting too late in the game to change your career. Because those previous experiences that you had could actually be really, really helpful for your new future career that you're going into. So just the agenda here, so you have an idea of what we're going to be covering. So why are you here? Is it your job or the industry? What exactly is the issue? 10 signs you're ready for a career change, burnout versus bore out, what humans need to thrive at work, finding your Ikigai, and any questions that you may have. So by all means, if you have any questions at all during the webinar, please feel free to add them to the Q&A, and we would be happy to answer those at the end of the webinar. So I just dropped a few common things that I've heard from some of the students that I've worked with here at Career Foundry and some of the people that I've talked to and mentored going through a career change. So some have said that I dread the end of the work week, or I dread the end of the weekend, and you have something like the Sunday blues, or the Sunday scaries, as it's also called. Some people also don't like their colleagues or don't like their boss. Some people, they want to like actually what they're doing in their career. So these are some of the common things that we're hearing from people. So if any of these things resonate with you, it's clear that you do need a change. Whether or not it's a job change or a whole entire career change, this we'll find out. But from this, if you already have some of these things, and this is the reason why you're here on this webinar, then it's clear that some change needs to be made probably. So determining the issue, whether it's the job or the industry, I've tried to break it down a little bit because sometimes it's just this particular job that you're in. It's the role that you're in, the company that you're in. So it's really great to decide what's what, because maybe you don't need to change the entire industry because you like the work itself within the industry. It's just the issue with that particular role. So is it the job or the industry? So on the left, we have the issues pertaining to the job. So this is something like expectations from your manager, or the workload given could be too much or too less. The expectations maybe are not realistic. Maybe you have an issue with the behavior of your manager or your fellow colleagues. You maybe have a problem. Maybe there is an issue with the responsibilities or lack of responsibilities within that role. So maybe you can be, maybe there's an issue there when it comes to the manager or even fellow colleagues expecting you to do things that are not necessarily within your scope, or you feel like are within your scope, or maybe you're not given enough responsibilities and you feel like you're doing something that's more repetitive. Yeah, I see we have in the chat, Christina has said, did the webinar start? And it has. So I hope everyone can hear me. Can you let me know in the chat if everyone can hear me? So moving on from, is it the job or is it the industry? So we've just went over what the job part is. So with that, let's look at industry. So when it comes to the industry, problems with your industry can look like expectations and workload as well, because maybe you already noticed this because you've changed your role, you've changed the company, and you're still having the same issues. And some industries simply require more from their employees, and maybe that's not suited best for you because there's not a certain work-life balance. So maybe it's not only an issue with a particular company, role within a company, but maybe it is within that industry that you're currently in. Another one to know if there's an issue with the industry that you're working in is the work itself. So the types of tasks that you do on a daily basis or as a part of your quarterly goals or yearly goals. If you're finding that this is something you're not at all interested in, if it's even something that you dislike or even something maybe you really hate, this is definitely a clear sign that maybe you should be moving on from this particular industry. Something like lifestyle as well, because there are some jobs that require you to work on weekends. There's some jobs that require you to work overnight. There's some jobs that require you to be on call and that you have to go into work at all hours of whenever. So make sure, so this could be a reason why maybe you also would want to change your industry, is if it is a type of industry that does work all hours 24/7 and it's not a good fit for you. And like I mentioned before, when it comes to expectation and workloads, if you've already changed your job and changed it several times even, and it hasn't helped, then usually it's a problem with the industry and not actually the roles themselves. So hopefully from this, you've already maybe have started asking yourself or started reflecting to see, is it a problem with my role or my industry? And with that, I say these are additional signs that show, and this is great. This is from a Career Foundry article written on our blog that I've just basically tried to break down for you. And it's 10 signs that it's time for a career change. And this is really to help you realize if you're really to the point where you really need to make a change in your life. So one is your body is telling you enough is enough. So this is something that if you're constantly feeling tired, you constantly feel no motivation, you cannot focus on the work that you've been given at work. It can even manifest into physical reactions. So maybe you feel like you're really sore. Maybe when you're waking up and getting out of bed, you just feel like my body just feels rough. If you're having any of those reactions, this is one of the signs that it could be that you just are really fed up with the career and the role that you're in. Another one is your job is impacting your self-esteem. So satisfaction is really important for us as humans. And so you may start to question yourself if you're not really getting this satisfaction for your role. So maybe you start feeling less confident in how you're doing your own work. Maybe you're feeling less confident in taking action or making decisions. Maybe you feel like you're not being taken seriously in your role, which can impact the self esteem. And maybe you feel like you have no opportunities within your company. And all of these things can have a severe impact on your self-esteem and therefore even cause additional reactions. A big one, I think this is one that I hear really common. You're there for the money. We all have bills to pay. We all have our rent. We need electricity. We essentially need to pay for so many things in our life, and that's where a job does come in because it does support us. But if you're only doing a job for the money, it's really hard to make that last long term and to make it sustainable. Because of the fact that it's hard to do something for so many hours in the day that you're not really passionate about or interested in. So you have to be careful when you go somewhere only for the money because you keep trying to hang on and buy yourself more time in this role with excuses. You'll tell yourself that you're only there for the bonus and then you'll leave, or sometimes which is a big one that I know even a lot of people, even personal friends of mine, is that they hate their job, but they spend a lot of the money on things to make them happy. So they're buying a lot of clothes, or they're buying a lot of fancy things, or they're going on a lot of holidays to make up for all the time they are in their job where they're miserable. So it's something to keep in mind if that's another sign for you. You dream of a different career. So if you're constantly at work and thinking about, oh, it'd be really cool to do this, or I think I would really enjoy doing something like that. If you are scanning job board websites or looking for any other opportunities out there, this is a really good sign that you're probably not happy in what you're doing. So these are some signs of wanting to simply change your career, is this kind of daydreaming of other things. This goes back to the first one and ties in. You're lacking energy and you're eternally bored. So struggling to get out of bed, just feeling this overall fatigue, not feeling like you can really keep going. It's just very difficult to function. And I think the eternally bored part is extremely important because a lot of people don't necessarily associate this with the fact that it's important to do a career change. But if you're really bored in your job, I know some people say, oh, then that's the best job. You're getting paid, but it's easy if you're bored, or, it's no big deal. You're getting paid just to do something super easy, like just hang in there, even if it's boring. But if it's boring, it's often that you're not getting this satisfaction that you need in life. And so you're not really feeling good about what you do in your job, which takes up a lot of your time in your life. So eternally bored is something actually to really watch out for. You've become disconnected from your passions. So maybe you have hobbies that you no longer do anymore because of the fact that you just don't, you kind of feel apathetic about everything. You feel not energized, not really wanting to do anything else. You maybe even miss what you did before, because sometimes people get into industries because they love the work and they just simply get bored of it, or they get burnt out, or they all of a sudden feel like it's not for them the more that they've learned about it. So maybe you, because of this, you realize it's no longer a good fit. You can also feel like that your job takes too much time away from the things you're really passionate about, because I've heard of people spending tons of time on volunteer projects and wishing they had more time to participate in those, but they had to go to work, or they had to do something that would pay their bills. So try to look. Often it is possible and we don't realize, but we can turn our passions into jobs that pay and that we are able to survive off of that. You're jealous of your friends' jobs. If you're looking at some of your friends and saying, "Oh, I wish I could do what they're doing," or you're jealous of them, of the types of tasks that they're doing in their job, uh, this is something that you should definitely be thinking about. That maybe if you're jealous of them and their job, is that actually a career that you're really interested in, or are you jealous of more so what their career allows, if it's the creativity, if it's the flexibility, or what exactly that you're jealous about. But this is definitely an aspect that you should analyze for yourself if you're feeling this sign. You've become apathetic to change. This is another one. So you have no interest in the company you work for, none at all. You don't care what happens really to the company, your colleagues, what's going on in this world. You're no longer even trying to get involved on new projects or make changes, or not even looking for any opportunities for promotion or advancement in the company. You've just kind of go in day after day, do your job, and leave. This is also a big telltale sign that it could be time definitely for a change for you. You would leave if you could. Money is one of the biggest things that people say why they don't leave their job. So if money is the only thing keeping you in your job, and you're saving up for the day you can leave, this is really you in your head already deciding that this is not a good fit for you and a change needs to be made. So if this is the case where you already are telling yourself you could leave if you could, you definitely need to realize that either a role change or a career change needs to happen. A big one, your friends don't recognize you anymore. So you have less time for friends and family because of maybe the previous symptoms I've mentioned, the fatigue, uh, the lack of interest, the loss of passion for your hobbies. Uh, all of these reasons, maybe you just are kind of, less time for friends and family. You feel stressed and unhappy. You don't have the time or energy, which we talked about before, to do the things that actually make you happy, and your friends feel like that you're turning into a completely different person. I think the people around us that we're close to are a good indicator, because we don't often notice the change in ourselves because it can be so subtle when we're in maybe a bad environment and company, or not even necessarily a bad environment, just a situation that doesn't fit us. It's really great to ask those around you, and see what they think about how things are going for you. And if they, because if they're telling you, "Hey, you seem off. Are you sure you're okay?" Um, it might be something to be, to realize. So going through these signs, I wanted to take a bit of time to go through those signs because I feel like it's really important for people to decide, um, for them, if this is really sounds like their situation in their case. So I wanted to mention a little bit of when it goes beyond these signs, because there are real implications if you do stay in a job that maybe is not fulfilling. It doesn't always happen, and by no means am I a psychologist, but we do know in the career world that there is burnout and that there is bore out, and these can lead to psychological issues. And for example, I thought I would just go over the differences. So to be clearly open and forthcoming, I have personally had both of these, both burnout and bore out. Um, and I think it's really, really important to realize before it gets to this stage that you are in a role or are in an industry that really doesn't fit you. So just to go through, so burnout, as I wrote here, it's a psychological disorder caused by excessive and prolonged stress relating to the workplace, leading to mental exhaustion. So just to really sum it up in quick words, burnout is usually when you're overworked. You have a lot going on and you feel like you're kind of failing and you're just not being able to do everything to the high level that you want it to. You're not being able to accomplish enough. You feel significant overwhelm. So I've written here some of the symptoms that you feel, and then the reasons why. Heavy workload, also support. So support from colleagues, support from managers or other people that are higher up within the company are an issue with burnout, and little to no recognition is a big deal as well. If you feel like you're working extremely hard, but no one is actually recognizing you for all the hard work you're putting in. And the symptoms of burnout can lead to exhaustion, anxiety, being overwhelmed, even having sleep problems, being extremely tired, and not having energy. Whereas bore out is kind of it comes from, of course, boredom. So like it would like playing on this, and this is it's actually caused by a mental underload due to a lack of quantitative or qualitative workload. A lot of people don't realize that um, a too easy of a job, if you will, or a job that doesn't require you to do sufficient task can really upset us from a mental perspective as humans, because we do want to feel like we're contributing to something. We do want to feel like we're making a difference. So this can be where you feel extremely bored at work. It's maybe because you have a lack of a challenge or a purpose within your work, and also feeling neglected, feeling like that you have a manager who doesn't notice you and doesn't even give you the time to discuss your projects or to discuss what you would like to work on, or even to discuss your future in the company. And some of the symptoms of this would be that you can see as frustration, apathy, really not feeling good about yourself, going back to the fact that maybe you're not really contributing or doing a lot within the company. Also, fatigue goes into it, along with stress and feeling really jittery and this jittery anxiousness. So you can either be overworked or underworked if we were to break it down in really simplistic terms. And this can come from not being really in the right role or industry for you. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it does happen to a significant number of people. So it's important to really, really know the signs. So since money is such a big topic, this is why I wrote, it isn't all about the money. And then I've also put the second one that I hear the most, which is job security. So it isn't all about the money or job security. I know those things are really, really important to people, but you do have to think about how much time you're spending in your job. And you do have to realize that it is possible to get satisfaction from a job and get paid for it. So you don't need to stay in a dead-end job or a job that makes you feel unfulfilled and unhappy, because there is a possibility for you to do what you want to do and get paid for it. So I really like this is Agabaya, and I think she really has a really good idea. You can also check her out on LinkedIn, where she posts a lot of great information. But I think she really explains what is so important for us as humans working and what we need. And so she has three aspects of this. So what humans need to thrive at work. So we need to be able to have fun at work so that we have enough clarity, autonomy, challenge, resource, collaboration, and support for us to really feel like we're having fun doing the tasks that we're actually tasked with doing in our role. We also need to have meaning. So we have a clear sense of collective and individual purpose in our work. So we know what our job entails and what we do specifically to contribute to the team or to contribute to the company. But then we also understand what our team or our team contributes to the company, and even widely what the company contributes to society. So that's two. And then three is belonging, that we actually feel like we get to be ourselves at work, and we feel really safe to interact with those around us, without fear of rejection or humiliation. That we really feel it's this sense of belonging and connection with people that we're working with. So those are the three things that Agabaya mentions that she believes that humans need to be able to really thrive in a work environment. And I think these 3 points are really important. I think these are the top 3 things people should think about when they are looking to go into a new career, is to find something that is allowing them to have fun, meaning, and allows them to have belonging. And not just even a career wise, but also for company wise. So going through this a bit, I hope now you have decided if or not that you're ready for a career change. If you've already realized that, yeah, this kind of aligns with me, I am ready for a career change, now what? What are you going to do? So with this is, I want to be extremely transparent as someone who has changed their career 3 times, 4 times. It's not easy. It is a challenge. It does take a lot of hard work, but it is 100% possible. And I can guarantee, at least in my case and many others that I've worked with here from Career Foundry that have gone and changed their career, the hard work was worth it. That they do find happiness and success in their new career. And I can say for myself, now, even in this moment, I really feel all 3 points from Agabaya. I really feel content at where I am. So the hard work really was worth it. So just know that if you do decide to change, it's not an easy process, but you can do it. And then especially if you're interested in a program from Career Foundry, you even are assigned a career specialist that assists and supports you with the career change. Another thing I want to mention, because again, goes back to money, often people will pick a career that they think is going to bring them money and job security, but it's not really a passion, or it's not even an interest. So I want to make sure to tell you, be very, very, very careful, because I have seen some people pick to do a career change into something just assuming it was going to be easy. They're going to change their career and make quick money. But if you're not interested in the career you're changing into, you're not going to be trying to learn and continually learn. Because, for example, Career Foundry is great. I think our programs, this may be biased, but I think our programs are fantastic and our support is fantastic. But over the years, you need to keep being interested in whatever it is that you're studying. So you need to continue to be interested. If it's design, you need to keep reading about design. You need to keep practicing and advancing your skills and keeping up with trends. So you very much need to be interested. If it's not a passion, you definitely need to at least be interested in what you're changing into. So how do you decide what you change into? Because you may know that your career's all wrong for you, completely all wrong, but you just have no idea where to start. So I love Ikigai. So Ikigai is actually a Japanese concept. It's a Japanese idea. And what it is it is merging, I'll show you the graph here. It's merging all of these ideas of what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. And you can even see the overlap breaking down. So for example, you can see where what you love and what the world needs goes into your mission. But what you're good at and what you can be paid for could be a profession. But you're actually looking for, when you do a career change, you're actually looking for your Ikigai. You're really looking for the center where everything aligns, where it's your passion, your profession, your vocation, your mission. It's what you love, what the world needs, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, all wrapped into one. sometimes people think that's a lot to ask, but let me assure you, it is possible. It's more so you who needs to reflect on what that new career could be. It's you who needs to think about all of these elements to find a good fit that's for you. So think about all these things. We'll go on to the next thing. Starting to brainstorm. So let's look at brainstorming what your Ikigai can look like. We won't fill it out because I think that this is something that you can do on your own if you come back to the webinar's recording, or even typing in Ikigai yourself within Google. You will see this same diagram, or I'll leave it up for a second if anyone would like to screenshot this now. You can screenshot it so that you have it, and you can fill it out later. Just give you a second to do that. Then with that, we'll go back here. So moving on to looking at what Ikigai could look like for you. So you can take a pen and paper, you can use Miro, you can pull up a doc, but I think these are things that should be some of your top questions to ask yourself as brainstorming a part of what could be your Ikigai. So think about what are your three of your greatest strengths. If you really don't know or really are struggling with it, it sometimes helps to ask a family member or a friend. Just even simply asking, what do you think that, what do you think I'm good at? What do you think my strengths are? Because sometimes they can mention things that you take for granted. You assume everyone has this strength, or this is something that everyone can do, and in fact, it's something unique to you, or it's rare, or it's valued. So sometimes it helps to ask others close to you for their advice as well, if you really feel stuck. Another thing to think about are, what are your hobbies and your interests? What are the things that really make you feel great and things that you like doing? It can be abstract, so you can say that you like arts and crafts, or it can be even something more specific where it's you saying you like painting. And it doesn't even need to be something substantial. It can be an interest. So for example, one of my interests, I don't do anything with it, but I love trains. I absolutely love trains. Every time I see a train, I take a picture of it. Every time I'm on a train, I'm like a 5-year-old. So it could be even just listing random things that you like, that you're interested in. And because even me, like, I would love to read more about trains than I already do. So it can even be something random, not even something that you would think is related to a career. But once you have everything down on a piece of paper, the more stuff you have to brainstorm off of, the better. Think about which careers interest you the most. So maybe you even have already an idea of some careers that interest you that you maybe would like to go into. So I see someone wrote in our chat that they're interested in UX and UI, but also about cybersecurity. So in this case, these are two things that they could write down as careers that interest them the most, and they can look into if that would actually be, if one or the other would actually be their Ikigai. Another thing to think about, what does success look like for you? If you think and envision, close your eyes and imagine yourself in 5 years, in 10 years, what do you see? Where do you see yourself? Is it within a specific company? If so, what are you doing there? How are you contributing? So really imagine what success looks like for you and really write that down. Also, a main thing I think a lot of people write off is your gut, like your intuition, your instinct. So what is your gut telling you to do? So if your gut is telling you that, yeah, you really should make a career change, or, oh, you really should follow your passion of data analysis, data analytics, or marketing, whatever it may be, then look into that more. I'm not saying jump in, but that should be something that you should be jotting down and thinking about more in detail. What actions would you take if you valued or trusted yourself more? I think this is so important because often we second guess ourselves. And when we second guess ourselves, we're not sure. We're even scared to make a decision. So when it comes to this, think about what you would do if you actually valued or trusted yourself. Another one, if you were at your best, what would you do right now? So sometimes we can already be feeling down from the career that we're in now. So it's hard to even think about what we would do. But if you felt good, what would it be? Would it be going back to school? Would it be doing an apprenticeship? Would it be looking into researching for new jobs? Think about what you would do right now if you really felt at your best. So these are all important things to do. And like I said, it's really great when you answer these questions to be really kind of as detailed as possible. But because we're not just trying to find a career that you're passionate about, we're not just trying to find you a career to get you out of your current career that you hate. The goal is really, if you're already going to invest this much work into a career change, you should be looking for your Ikigai, your sweet spot, the thing that makes all the hard work worth it. So definitely take time to not rush into something, really brainstorm to find the career that fits best for you. And I'll just give another minute. I know I saw in the chat here, which was definitely where people have mentioned that they've had bore out before. And I think that this happens more than we realize with people, both burnout and bore out, because a lot of times people simply don't talk about it. I know in both cases with my burnout and my bore out, they were in different jobs at different times. I didn't tell my friends, I didn't tell my family. I felt almost ashamed, like it was my fault. So with the burnout, I felt like it's my fault. I can't handle everything. I must not be good at my job because I can't do everything that I should be doing because my manager gave me all of those things. With bore out, I felt bad because there's so many people who hate their job because of burnout, and it's so overwhelming. And here I am feeling horrible at my job simply because I'm bored and I don't feel valued and I don't feel like I'm making a contribution. So again, I didn't share with friends, I didn't share with family what I was suffering through. And so for the longest time, a lot of people didn't know. And it's only then when I started opening up to people about suffering from professional struggles and having bore out and burnout that people started saying, in my life, people close to me saying, oh, me too. I had bore out, or oh, I had burnout last year. And it can be people close to you that you don't even realize. So it is something that is happening, and I'm glad to see that people are sharing here in the chat about having faced this as well, because I think the more we talk about it, the more it will become accepted in society that this is an issue and that people should be making a change, because it's 100% possible to be in a role that you feel good about, and you deserve that. You deserve to be in a role that makes you happy and that you feel good about, and that covers all of these spots that we talk about to reach the Ikigai point. Yes. So Andrew wrote in the chat that not being good at creating a good work-life balance. and that the imbalance can lead to a combination of both burnout and bore out. Extremely, extremely true. And if you are someone who struggles with work-life balance, you really need to be extra careful because you are more susceptible to burnout and bore out. And that is exactly my issue, is not being good with creating boundaries and not being good at the balance, which is why I've been in both of those, the bore out and the burnout situation. So definitely it's important to know yourself, know what you struggle with, and work hard to make sure that you are maintaining balance. So I make sure that I really try to maintain balance in my life, because I do love my job. I love being a career specialist. I love helping others. But if I help people way, way too much and 24/7, then I'll end up neglecting myself, and I'm not going to be able to continue helping others. So it's realizing that, okay, it's 6 p.m. I should turn off the computer now. I'll answer that person tomorrow because I need to eat, I need to rest and take care of myself so I can continue helping people long term. So, whatever you do to help yourself maintain that work life balance, do it. Whatever works for you, do it, because it's extremely important. Okay. Mm, great talks here in the chat. I think it's really, and I'm so happy to see everyone really talking about what they struggle with, and knowing these things about yourself, and seeing your own situation and seeing others in this situation as well. Because it's so important to realize that you're not alone, but really change is possible. I want to mention too, just because of course I work for Career Foundry. I'm very partial. I love Career Foundry. I think we're really a great team, and we're a great we have great educational programs. So if by chance your Ikigai, which is why I'm really specifying your Ikigai, your true sweet spot is in web development, UX design, UI design, data analytics, digital marketing, Career Foundry really could be a good fit for you, because not only do we have the program to help you learn about these specific industries, after you do your program, you're assigned a career specialist who works with you for 6 months, and we call it the job search period. So you'll have a career specialist for 6 months that helps you work on all of your professional materials, helps you with interviewing preparations, helps you on how to look for a job. They're really there to assist you during your whole career change process. And then this is from my side of things, but in addition, just as a note, when you're in your course program, your course specific program, you have additional tutors and mentors that are specific to those programs that you're working on. So there's a lot of support for your career change. So we can go ahead on to questions. I'll answer the one here from the follow-up from Andrew, and then I'm sure Laura has plenty for us to answer too. So how did you find this potential career change facilitating that correction of the balance? So with this, I find, if you're changing your career, it can be quite difficult to maintain a balance, especially if you're still working in your current job, let's say, because you can already be quite exhausted from your current job, or already feeling a lot of the signs, the symptoms of bore out, burnout, or the 10 signs that I even listed before that. So you have to get yourself in a stable state, and then baby steps, because maybe it is something that you can't take on at 100%, because of the fact that you are still working, and that you are tired. So maybe it is baby steps of doing just a course here and there, or maybe it's going to meetups to learn more about these different industries that you're interested in. maybe it's meeting and networking with people in that field. So make sure that you're doing your career change in accordance with what you can handle at the moment. And if you're struggling with this balance, make sure that you are attuned to your needs. Like, what is your body telling you? Is your body telling you you're exhausted and you need to rest? If you need to rest, rest. If your body is telling you that you're hungry and you should eat, don't put it off. I'm the number one person that says, oh, I'll eat lunch later. I just want to respond to this email. And then I respond to the next email. And then it's an hour, 2 hours later. And then I'm like, oh, I should eat lunch. It's now 3 p.m. So, and then of course your eating habits are out of whack because you waited too long to eat lunch. So it's keeping in mind, no, I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. It's time to eat now. These are just simple examples, but it's important to really keep yourself on a schedule, if you will. You don't have to have a hardcore schedule, but you do have to keep these things like a light schedule in mind to allow you to take care of yourself. So, Laura, what do you have for me?
First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for the presentation. I think it was really useful, a lot of great insights. Again, I just want to remind everyone, if you have any further questions, please share them in the chat and Susan will answer them. First of all, I wanted to say that I loved what you said about how sometimes becoming disconnected from your hobbies and passions and showing a lack of interest and enthusiasm for doing the things you love could be seen as a sign that it's time to consider a new direction in your professional life. Because like you said, it's not just about finding a job to make money, but to realize that you can actually support yourself by doing something you enjoy. So thank you for that. And with that, I want to go on to some of the questions. One of them we got from Gabriel is, what are some of the key soft skills or transferable skills recruiters or tech companies are looking for in UX or UI designers? So I assume this is for people who are transitioning and don't have a design background, right?
Yeah, honestly, so many transferable skills when it comes to UX UI design. You have no idea. I think everyone I've ever worked with, we've been able to find that their previous career, they brought transferable skills. So one of them was a sales slash barista at Nespresso. So they were just in retail. So they were like in retail at an espresso store. And when you go to an Nespresso is coffee. When you go to this coffee store, Nespresso, you can go and taste the coffee. So you have the person doing the sales and they're making your coffee. You can taste test them and then you can buy them. So I was helping this person move into UX, and they asked me, I have nothing related to design. I was in retail basically. I just made coffee and sold coffee. What does that have to do with design? And I said, oh, you're perfect for UX. Are you crazy? Like, look at all these great transferable skills you bring, because he had excellent customer service skills because he's worked with people. So he knew how to speak with people. And this is extremely important when it comes to UX because of the fact that you are interacting with people when you're doing user testing, when you're doing user interviews. This is a part of any kind of user research. You're really having to interact with people. So customer service skills come into handy. Also working into retail and seeing how things worked within a retail setting. He could easily spot what customers liked and what they didn't like, and he was very easy to pick up on those things. And this is also something really extremely important in UX, being able to be in tune to customer needs. There was another person, similar thing with these soft skills, basically people skills, someone who went from being a server into UX UI. And being a server, again, you're having to work with people, and also not necessarily happy people all the time. So as a server, you sometimes have to deal with people who are upset about their order, or they're upset, yeah, something wasn't cooked right, or something didn't come as quick as they wanted to. So you're always kind of mitigating issues with a certain table or certain customers. So this is about learning how to problem solve in the moment. So as a server, we were able to explain that she had excellent problem solving skills, and thinking on her feet in the moment as a server, and how that applied to going into UX. Um, Honestly, there's so many to mention. Patience is another one. So there was a teacher who wanted to transfer into UX, and I mentioned that her level of patience into teaching and teaching children was extremely important when it came to UX, because of the fact that in UX you have to be patient, because it's an evolution. Because you may create a prototype, you do user testing on it, and you discover that it's not what the users want, and you have to do edits. And then what do you do? More user testing. And then what do you find? Maybe there's more things that you need to integrate. So there's more changes. So it's very much an ongoing process that can be frustrating to some people because of its ongoing process, and because maybe you need to keep making changes. So I think patience helps a lot for people going into UX. So we won't talk all about that, but those are just some of the three core things that I've seen that are really great. But honestly, UX is so versatile, and you use so many different skills, that I've found so many people from so many different backgrounds go into it successfully.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize that I think it's hard for people transferring or changing careers to identify these transferable skills. And that's why we have career specialists like Susan who can help you point out how you can stand out, even if you're just starting in tech. So
Yep,
that is why
absolutely.
we have Susan here. We have a great question from Tanwan. He says, if a recruiter or an employer were to interview him or her,
Hmm.
I don't know, for a junior UX UI role, what would they want? What would this recruiter be looking for?
They want to see your experience and what you know. So you would think as a junior, you don't have experience. But for example, you still should have some type of experience going for a junior role. So we look at that in the case of projects, and recruiters will look at that in the realm of projects. So when you do the Career Foundry course, we actually, in fact, for UX, you have two projects that you would do. And then with UI, you would have four projects that you would do as a part of the program. And it's really important and the reason why we have you do that is so that you have a portfolio that has work within the UX or UI field that shows that you know what you're doing, and you know what you're talking about when it comes to this new field. Because essentially, this is a way to um, back up that you know what you say, because you can say all you want on a CV resume that you know UX or you know UI or you know both of them, UX, UI. But unless you have examples, the recruiter typically will be apprehensive. And so, really having a portfolio with projects and with case studies, that's where it really comes into handy. So, that's the number one thing you should have when you start job searching. When it comes to design, is having case studies and on your portfolio, which case studies written on the projects that you've done.
Yeah, like Susan said, all the Career Foundry programs that we have, everyone finishes with a portfolio, which is the key takeaway in which you're presenting to potential employers. So this is really, really important. And I think it's a highlight of the program. We have another great question from John. The question is, I got burned out because I wasn't able to maintain a steady work-life balance. Any job in career change seems quite daunting. Any advice on how to tackle that?
Yeah, so I would say definitely with this is already, if you struggle to maintain a steady work-life balance, first establish what you want to work in first, like what industry. And then from there, you have to be very careful with the roles and companies that you pick. So, for example, like I mentioned before, it's really about keeping yourself in check if you know that you struggle with balance. But even going beyond that, it's looking at the companies that you work for. So if I love, for example, Glassdoor. So Glassdoor, employees or um, past employees can write their thoughts on that company, and you can see what they are saying about how it was to work at that company. And in this case, you can see if people felt like they were being overworked or they had no work life balance. You can see if they felt like it was a negative environment. And in this case, this can help you choose when you're looking for a company if you would want to work if you want to work for a certain company or not. Because if there's so many people saying that it's not a good environment, then you probably won't have a good work life balance there. And so that's probably a company that you should scratch off your list and go on to the next one. Sometimes also, it's not always, but sometimes small startups can have a bad work life balance because they expect people early on within like the first 10 people, 15 people, they expect you to be super dedicated like they are because you're still at that point working close with the founders usually. So they expect the startup to be your life. So just be careful that maybe you wouldn't want to go into that. Or if you are thinking about working for a startup, making sure that you're clear during the interview process how much time they actually really expect you to work. So, in combination of keeping your own self in check by keeping yourself to a schedule, knowing that maybe you're bad with work life balance, but setting boundaries for yourself, also looking to see where you work and that that company respects work life balance and that company doesn't expect you to be answering their emails 24/7.
Definitely. And we have another question, which I think many people changing careers have this question. It says, I'm scared of starting in an entry-level role when entering a new field, even though I have years of experience in my current field that I want to leave. What's the best way to deal with this?
So, something to keep in mind, I think a lot of people think that because they're going into a new field that they have to start from zero and they have to climb the ladder all over again. This is not always true. Sometimes you can make a lateral jump to where very much you can go into a mid-level role. So I have seen people that were able to justify enough of their skills from their previous roles that they were able to get mid-level roles in the fields that they switched into. And it's all about working. I think it's all about working on showing how all of your previous experience makes you a better UX designer, web developer, marketer, whatever you want. It's just showing that your previous experience prepared you for that. And that's also something as a career specialist that I work a lot on is helping people realize that not only realize, but helping them learn how to sell themselves, how to sell their previous skills that they've learned, and showing how it is an asset to their new career.
Great answer. We have another question. Give me 1 second. So Christina asks, she's thinking about switching to marketing, but the career path over the years is unclear. What kind of a senior management role as a seasoned marketer grows into? And before Susan goes on to answer the question, I just want to remind you that on May 11th, we have an event on 7 lessons from growing your career as a digital marketer. So check that one out if you want more information. And now, Susan, let us know what you think.
Yeah, while I'm answering that, is there a way that you can put the link in the chat for Christina about that event? Because that sounds really like the perfect event for her. Because
Yes.
honestly, yeah, there's plenty of directions you can actually go in with marketing because marketing is quite broad. So the course that we have here at Career Foundry is digital marketing, and by far, I would say this is probably the most in demand within marketing is digital. And it is, yeah, definitely the most in demand, most needed that you see. And it's something that continues to evolve because digital evolves. We have new platforms that evolve. So it's not only just about analytics, it's not just about it's not just about looking at Google AdWords or looking at even all the different social media. It's a changing industry. So you will constantly be evolving in this. And even there's some people who even specialize. So when it comes to example, digital marketing, there's even sometimes people who in big companies who specialize into a certain aspect of digital marketing. Um, in companies, you can go up to um, where it's like you said, in a management role, so that you can see where there is the head of um, the head of marketing. Sometimes you can have it as, even depending how it's broken down, there's even depending on how large the company is, it can be the head of marketing in a specific country or head of marketing in a specific even region. You can even look at a CMO. It's a chief marketing officer that goes all the way pretty much to the top. So CMO is often on the same level as a CTO, a chief technical officer, and a CEO, which is the head of a company. So there's really tons of ways to grow into marketing. It is a ladder with many different steps. So it is a career that allows growth. It just also, the reason why it's kind of hard to say is it depends also if you specialize, if you choose to specialize, or if you choose to go in a senior management role, because you can go either way and still get um, still be kind of still being considered going up the ladder. It's just going up the ladder in a different way, if you will. Um, but I would definitely encourage you to start networking with people to see kind of what direction of growth you would be interested in going in.
Thank you so much. And that's true. Marketing can go into many different directions. So hopefully that event will also help you get a sense of the potential for the career growth. Another question, which I think a lot of people could possibly relate to, is how do I deal with the anxiety that comes with starting a new job in a field I'm new in after years of working in a different industry?
Yes. I call this out for what it is. It's imposter syndrome usually. And keep in mind, imposter syndrome is something that really so many of us suffer with because of the fact that we're always questioning if we're good enough, if we're measuring ourselves even to others, because we tend to think others are better than us. Um, Keep in mind that everyone is new to something at some point. And so if you're hired for a role, they don't expect you to instantly be an expert on day one of your job. Um, One specific example of this, which is quite funny, is that I had a call with a Career Foundry graduate, and she wanted to have a call after she found her, already after she had been working some time in her company. So I thought, oh, maybe, and she said, I don't really like my company. Can we have a call? And I said, yes, absolutely. Let's see what's going on. So I thought most common problem, is someone doesn't really like the manager. But in fact, she told me, I'm bored. I don't feel like I'm learning enough. I don't feel like I'm being given enough task um, in her new UX UI role. And I said, oh, did you talk to the manager about it? And she said, no, I didn't. But I mean, like, maybe I should just change. And so we worked together to create a strategy. She asked her manager if she could meet with him and have a discussion about her role and her responsibilities. And they had a chat, and we had another call for her to catch me up. And it turns out that simply the manager knew she was new to the field and simply didn't want to overwhelm her with too much work in the beginning. And that's why he wasn't giving that many tasks or with that much responsibilities. But it's not that he didn't think she could do it. He just wanted her first to feel more adjusted to the company first. So there are plenty of managers that think in this way, and that they want you to get acquainted with the company first and don't expect you to know everything. So definitely don't worry about that because it does take some time to get adjusted, not even just for a new career, but just in general, getting adjusted and used to the company and how the company does things. Because you could be in the same career, but changing the company, it's a whole nother culture and a whole nother way of doing things. So it's kind of the same thing in the case of changing a career. So it's just going to be different things, but you can prepare yourself for the career change by doing a course or teaching yourself through tutorials. Definitely talking to people within that current industry and soaking up the knowledge from them.
That's very true. Yeah, just even changing to a new job within your field is challenging already. So don't feel like changing into another career will be any different. It's a matter of time. Another question we have is how important is networking for finding a job in a new field, and what's the best way to go about it when I don't know anyone in this field?
Oh, so important. Networking is so important. This is like the most important thing. The reason why is because at the end of the day, people still like to hire someone that they feel familiar with. So let's say, for example, I'm hiring for someone here on our career team. And Laura here tells me that, oh, her friend applied. I can have a stack of applications here, but because I know Laura's friend applied, I'm going to look at her application first because I know Laura, I like working with Laura. So it's automatically an assumption that Laura is a good judge of character and her friend would probably be a pleasure to work with also and would probably be a good colleague. Not to say it's right, but it's kind of like this initial human bias that we have and this assumption that we make in our head. So when you meet someone and know someone, it's great because then usually your application is being seen first before the rest of the application stack. So it doesn't mean to say that it needs to be your best friend who refers you. It can easily just be someone that you met a week before at a networking event, and that person recommends you. There still is that familiarity that the recruiter is going to feel more comfortable because you were referred by already an internal person from the company. So how I encourage you to network if you have no idea, no people within the industry is by going to networking events. So going to meetups on this topic, meeting people within this field, talking about your interest with them, asking about their interests, how they got into the field, also setting up informational interviews. I won't go into that into details, but just Google informational interview and you'll find out tons of information on how to do those. And that's a great way to network. Reaching out to people just through LinkedIn, going to industry events. There's tons of events within different industries, and Google and see what's in your area that you can go to in order to meet people. But I would say, yeah, LinkedIn is one of the best, and then going to any kind of events would be the top two ways to network. But it is super, super important to network and to build your network of people within the industry you hope to change into.
Very true. And if you find that challenging, that's what our career specialists are here for. They can give you tips on how to go about it, because I know a lot of people feel a little bit of anxiety over meeting people and introducing themselves and selling themselves, but that's what Susan and our career specialists are here for. And I want to be mindful of time, so we'll do maybe 2 or 3 questions because we're receiving a lot, but we're running out of time. So the next question is, what is the best way to explain a sudden career change in a job interview? So from a finance role to a more creative role like UI, how can I explain this in the interview?
Yeah, absolutely. So um, this is a common question that recruiters will ask you is why the change? And gone are the days of your parents, your grandparents, where they stayed in the same career their whole entire work experience. Most people now stay a few years in something and then they change. Um, Why? It's because we have kind of the luxury to do so. We can, and we realize we don't have to stay stuck to something that no longer fits for us. And we're able to pursue other interests. We're humans, we're multifaceted, we have plenty of interests, and it's simply following a new passion or a new interest. And so this is what I tell people to say when they go into a recruiter, is saying maybe simply that, yeah, you wanted to try something new and you want it, and you look to follow the things that interest you the most. And you can even talk about even the strengths that you bring from finance into design. I know it seems like two totally different things, but let me assure you there are connections between them. And so I usually say mention the things that make you a stronger designer actually coming from finance from before. But yeah, just even mentioning to them, you're following your new interests, you're following your passion.
The next question comes from Michelle, and I think you might have already touched on this topic, but maybe if you expand a bit more. Michelle is asking any advice on how to deal with lack of experience with potential employers for this career change.
Yeah, absolutely. So projects is really one of the best ways for this lack of experience, because um, education is great. So if whether you do Career Foundry or you do some kind of like Udemy course or some kind of other program, it's great to have some kind of certificate to back up your skills. And to also teach you, because it's more structured teaching. So for example, of course, there's tons of people who can learn things on YouTube. I personally cannot. I need the structure of a course. And not only that, sometimes you don't know everything you need to learn, whereas a course is great because not only does it structure, but it goes through everything that you need to learn at that particular moment for that particular industry. So I think a course is great, but really having some kind of project to show that not only did you do the schooling behind, but that you know how to apply it. Because they will say, okay, you have a degree or you have a certificate or you have some kind of diploma in something, but how do we know you can do this? And doing a project, and that's why I said Career Foundry is great because they have you do projects. But not only that, if you're looking at something like marketing, you could easily set up um, web analytics on your aunt's clothing store website. Like, and people don't necessarily need to know that it's your aunt and that you did it for free. You can just simply say it's a project that you worked on, and add this to as an example of work that you've done, because it is work. It is showing your professional skills, and you did do it. So you're by all means able to claim that and own that. So projects in any way to show what you know.
Very true. And we'll do two more questions. The next one is, let's see if what we have here. Okay, so how long on average do you think it takes to feel comfortable in a new career, and how long did it take you to feel this way? Especially, I think you can speak from personal experience, so we'd love
Yeah.
to hear this.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly think it depends on every career. And what's ironic I still remember with journalism. So with journalism, I did a bachelor's degree in journalism. I did a 6-month internship. And even then, when I got my first job, I still felt out of place and like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I got a degree in it and did an internship. So sometimes you will still feel just out of place and feel like you have a lot to learn. And that's not always necessarily due, some of it's due to skill knowledge sometimes, but sometimes it is just due to how the company functions and how they like things done within that industry, within that how they like tasks done. So keep that in mind, that it will depend very much on the company, because I've had others that I have integrated into faster or felt more comfortable. But with that, there is always this transition feeling and this settling in period. And that's 100% normal. There is a study that says on average, it takes people about 6 months to really feel settled into a new role. And that's just a new role and not a career change. But it depends too, because sometimes the career change, it doesn't mean it's going to be longer, because oftentimes you've done jobs that have transferable skills that you bring into your new career. So it's not as big of a jump as you actually think it will be. So statistically, they say 6 months for a new role. But yeah, it depends.
All right. I think we covered most of the questions. We're running a little bit out of time. So first of all, I just want to say a big thank you to Susan for this. We will be sending out a recording of this webinar by email to everyone that attended, so you can rewatch the webinar if there's anything that you missed. Susan, thank you so much for taking the time to present today. I think this was very useful, very insightful, and I think judging by the questions we received, people really enjoyed it. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you for your questions. And if there's anyone out there who is thinking about maybe doing a Career Foundry program with us, I would highly recommend booking a call with the program advisor. Just click in the chat up top and you'll be able to book a call. You can also talk about your background, whether Career Foundry program is right for you, learn more about the curriculum or dual mentorship program, or career specialists like Susan, and all the help they can give you in finding that dream job in tech, and especially helping you in the job hunt portion, which we know is the most challenging portion. So please check out the Career Foundry events page and check out our Instagram too. There's lots of great events coming up soon, and we'll be posting about them. So keep an eye out for that. And with that, we'll just say goodbye. And Susan, thank you so much. And I wish everyone a good evening or a good morning, depending on where you are. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.